I'd like to personally thank you for tuning in to this broadcast. At Highview Baptist Church, we exist to lead people to know and follow Jesus. We're so thankful that you're taking the time to dig into God's Word with us, and we'd encourage you to check Highview out more on our website at highview.org. We hope and pray that the Lord is speaking to you in and through His Word, and that you truly will come to know and follow Jesus.
Well, church family, with it being such a special day, we truly just have a privilege to have some special people in the room with us, people that are truly loved and respected by Highview Baptist Church. And again, that is Kevin and Lynette Ezell. We are truly it's an honor that both of you are here. Some of you may not know, or maybe be a little newer to Highview and don't know that their history here, but it's long and it's great at Highview Baptist Church. Kevin and Lynette initially came to Highview in 1996. Kevin stepped into the role as senior pastor of Highview Baptist Church and was here until 2010. There are not many weeks that go by where I don't hear a story of Pastor Kevin Ezell, okay? And great things that the Lord done, worked in power, and then some of the craziest pranks I've ever heard in my life. But it was just such a wonderful season, and you can feel it. And those of you who are here during that time can just testify to those things. There are so many things we could say about Kevin Ezell and just the respect that we have for him here at Highview, but I think closely related to even where we are at East Campus is it was under his leadership that East Campus was planted. Guys, that's right. That's amazing. It's truly a humbling thing to think about those who have labored before you. We are in this room right now, worshiping Jesus, getting to be here in this part of the city of Louisville, making disciples, inviting people in, largely due to your leadership and others during that time. And so it's a humbling thing to see that and to see all that the Lord has done. And just Kevin has such a great heart for church planting, and we've seen churches even in Taylorsville and in South Louisville and Grace Point Baptist Church and different ones that have been multiplied off from Highview during that time. And his heart for church planting even continues. Many of you well know the Southern Baptist Convention has a sending agency, which is called the North American Mission Board, and Kevin stepped into that role in 2010 as the president of the North American Mission Board, and truly influences church planting across North America as a whole. We see churches planted everywhere, just the Lord using him in such a powerful way. There are so many things that we could say about you guys, and we're just so thankful for you. But if I could say just one, I think that sticks out just to me the most is I don't think you'll find a couple that is as intentional and caring and thoughtful with the love of Christ than this couple right here. And I've experienced personally. So brother, thank you for being here. I want to go ahead and invite you up. Would you give a warm welcome to Kevin Ezell?
Thanks. That's so kind, Blake, and you did that exactly like I wrote it. I appreciate that. It's just really awkward for me in a good way, I guess. But we drove around last night and just to remember how things were. And I realized the majority of people in this room have no idea who I am. I realize that. You're new. And that's the blessing of that's how a church is supposed to be. My word, if I come back, 12 years later and it's the same people, we did not do what we had set out to do. And so I just want to say, if you're a guest, please come back next week. Blake is a much better communicator than I am, and it will not be as good today, but it will not be as long. So I'll watch online. I have to do it in parts. I have a short attention span, but such a blessing to be here. And Lynette and I just want to say thank you for how you blessed our family and blessed our lives. And I could stand here all day. It's one of those things where your kids come home from college, and you ever have that happen when they come in the door and you say, you don't really need to say anything. I just want to look at you, And that's why I could just stand up here and look at you, but I know you don't want me to do that. So let's move on. But I would just real quick like to show you a family picture, just real fast, and I'll move on, all right? In case you're new and you don't know our family, we have 6 kids. We Three of the oldest are biological, and then we adopted Libby, right to the left of Lynette there first in China. We got her when she was 1. She's now a junior in college. She's a first year of pharmacy school. And then Micah Lynn's on the far right. She's from Ethiopia. Got her when she's 3. She's now a freshman in college. We're empty nest for about a month already. And then James is on the far left, and he's in Maui. And so we have 6 kids from 4 different countries. And my joke is, when we watch the Olympics, we win. All right, we do. Sorry. We have quite a few grandkids, and 7. They're not all pictured there. We only pictured the cute ones. Go ahead and take that picture off if you would. That's not true. We update it every year, and so and it's Thanksgiving almost. We're almost time to update it. But I just want to say to Blake, I am incredibly grateful to Aaron and you for what Highview has become, and it's amazing and a privilege to. I literally go all over North America. I was in Iowa yesterday. I'll be in Puerto Rico, and Tuesday I'll be in Colorado Springs next Saturday. And people all over North America come up and have some type of connection to Highview, and it's such a blessing to know where you are today. And we're all in this together. And the reason God directed me from 2010 into the North America Mission Board is because of what we did locally here. I felt like God was providing an opportunity to do it with a lot of gas poured on it. And so I knew what we could do as one church, but the hope was to plant churches all over North America, because you may not realize this, but the majority of evangelical churches are in the South. 85% of evangelical churches are in the ACC and the SEC. It's the other conferences that are going to hell, and we've got to reach them. And so someone just said, "I see why they replaced him," you know. but I want to show you just a little bit of what we did. Back in 2010, I'll show you a map of Washington, D.C. These are the new church plants back in 2010 in Washington, D.C. Because of your faithful giving as one of 47,000 SBC churches, this is what it looks like in 2021. Now, that's right. And if you look at a place called like L.A., Los Angeles, this is what it looked like in 2010. And because of your faithful giving, this is what it looks like in 2021. And that's the whole point. That's why a church on Faganbush Lane would plant East Campus and try to reach a city. You are called not to grow a church, but to reach a city. And that's why you're incredibly blessed to be so close to Southern Seminary, and which is a launching pad of people to go all over the world. And God just strategically placed Highview near that so that you can combine and really make a perfect storm, if you will, in a good way for the gospel. I like to focus on Acts 1. Aaron asked that we preach Acts 1 all over. I know you're in the series of Romans, but to preach in Acts 1. And it's a great passage because have you ever thought the last words Jesus said as he left this earth? He had missions on his mind. And it says, we're going to put it on the screen, but you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you. And you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the end of the earth. Now I realize it's not the first time you've heard that verse. Probably you've heard it many times. Hopefully you've heard it many times. That's our marching orders, if you will. There are over 375 million people in North America. 375 million. But there are over 7 billion people in the world. We only represent maybe 5% of the overall population. Over 200,000 people die every day. You put all of the population of how many people there are in the world, how many people in North America, and then how many people die every day. Every one of those people who die are going to go to heaven or going to go to hell. And that's why we must have a passion to share our faith. And it's something that every one of us can do. I entitled it, living your life on mission, or if you could really simply say, to make the very most of your life. God gives you a limited amount of time on this earth. And my prayer is that you would use it to glorify him and make the very most of the time that you have. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes and life throws us curveballs. No church is perfect. Every church makes mistakes and life throws its curveballs. You read through the book of Acts, from the very first church at Antioch all the way through the book of Acts, it's challenge after challenge. You read the 1 Corinthians, my word, constantly challenge after challenge, but God used them to do incredible things. I'm thankful for, as you go through the book of Romans 10:13 says, for whoever calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. I'm so thankful that it said, whoever calls upon the Lord shall be saved. What people often forget is what follows that. What follows it in verse 14, it says, and then they shall call on him and then shall they call on him whom they have not believed? How shall they believe in him who they have not heard? And how will they hear without a preacher? How will they preach unless they are sent? The fact that Jesus is the only way to heaven, it should not be a secret. It should be something that drives us. God has told us perfectly how we're to carry out the work of missions. And that's what Acts 1:8 is all about. I want you to see in the very first part of Acts 1:8, it says, you. When Jesus said you, he's talking about you. He's talking to the disciples, the 11 disciples there at the time. But he says, you are to be my witnesses. We are to be witnesses. As Blake shared that passage earlier, what Christ has done for us should not be a secret. Look, if God's blessed you in any way, you should figure out a way to tell people about it. It shouldn't be that hard. So often when you talk about missions, people all automatically want to go to missionaries. They want to go to pastors or ministers or people who work in the church. I want you today, when we say that, we're talking about you and me. The majority of people in this world who know Christ as their personal Savior came to know Christ because of a layman who shared their faith with them. Every one of us are to be on mission. I wish somehow there was a way for us to take an x-ray today, and I could go to this section and take an x-ray of influence. Because you live somewhere and you have a neighbor here, a neighbor there, and nobody else has the same neighbor. You work with certain people and nobody else here perhaps works with them. You go to a school and you're around certain people that no one else goes to. There's spheres of influence all over this room. And that's why when we talk about being witnesses, it's not about trying to get the world to come into here. It's really for the church to have a passion to go out there. Acts 20 is a passage I love because Paul was leaving the church of Ephesus, and it was very hard for him to leave the church of Ephesus because he loved them so much. He spent so much time there. But he got down to verse 24, and he's trying to explain to them why he was leaving. And they were trying to talk him out of it. Like, look, if you go, it's going to get rough. You don't know what look, this is not going to be the easiest path. And Paul tried to explain to them, look, I know it's not the easiest path, but this is what he's called me to do. And then he goes on to say, but my life is worth nothing to me unless I use it for finishing the work assigned me by the Lord Jesus, the work of telling others the good news about the wonderful grace of God. I consider my life worth nothing to me. I consider my life worth nothing to me. It's not about me. It's all about him. That's what he's simply saying there. And we must see that he's talking about you and me. What I love about the Apostle Paul, if you see when he was sent out in Acts 13, the church of Antioch sent Paul and Barnabas out on the first missionary journey to do what? To plant churches. It was very difficult. If you read Acts 13, 14, 15, 16, there were some really challenging times. He got kicked out of places, ran out of cities, put into jail. I mean, time after time, it was challenge after challenge. But he got to chapter 18, in Acts 18, it tells about where Paul really got to a very low point. It's the Apostle Paul. Got to a low point, very discouraged, almost ready to throw in the towel perhaps. And it was at his darkest moment of his life that the Lord came to him in a vision in Acts 18, verse 9. And he said this to Paul, do not fear, but keep on speaking and don't be silent, for I'm with you. And there are many people in this city that you know not of. What he was simply saying is, Paul, I know it's scary out there, but you have no reason to fear. Do not fear. And I want you to keep on doing what you're doing. I know it's tough. I know people push back. I know it. I know all that. But you do not quit. You keep on speaking and do not become silent. It would just be a pep rally if he just left it there. Do not fear. Do not quit. Do not fear. Do not quit. And we'd be, yeah. But he goes on to tell us why we don't have to fear and why you do not have to fear and why you should never quit. It's the next part. He says, for I am with you. That changes everything. Listen, I don't care where you are in life, what is it you may be fearful of, have anxiety, and you're ready to throw in the towel. You don't have to, and there's no reason you should because he is with you. But then I want you to notice, at the very end that he says for a purpose, Paul, there are many people in this city that you know not of. Basically, Paul, I'm going to use you to do things that are going to blow your mind, Paul. You have no idea how I'm going to use you. There are many people in this city that you have no idea you're going to reach. And that's why it's such a blessing to be here today. My word, I remember leaning against a car over there when we purchased 4 different pieces of property to be able to build this. And walking through, the weeds, doing a video, trying to be real cool and say, we've done a lot in our past, but now it's time to do more. And I thought that was so cool, and so we're going to build East Campus and do it. You know why the sweet people of Highview back then? Because there were many people in this city they didn't even know that would be reached that are sitting here today. That's the whole point. I love that passage when the Lord just reminds Paul, look, I am with you. I've got this. And you may be here today just trying to, hey, look, man, all about being a witness. Are you kidding me? I'm just trying to make ends meet. I'm just trying to make life fit. I'm just trying to do this. I want to encourage you, there is no need for you to fear. There's absolutely no need for you to quit. We have to stay on mission. It's all about sharing what Christ has done for you. Look, I know it's scary to ever tell who you root for in Louisville because it's Kentucky or Louisville. And it was always a challenge. I don't pastor here anymore. I don't live here anymore, so I can easily say it now. All right, so I'm a Kentucky fan. Most everybody knows that. I would always take your Louisville tickets when you provided them. All right, I really do appreciate this. Several of my kids are Louisville fans because of it. But when Lynette and I got married back in December 28th, 1985, her dad's a hunter and a fisherman. All right, he's not a guy that did sports where you keep score. My family was the opposite. You keep score on anything. Who can, I finished supper first. You just get points. And so we got married, we talked about everything, but we really not gone into that type of a detail. And so we got married December 28th, 1985. I can tell you the very first marital challenge that we had was in the middle of March. It's still celebrated today in something called March Madness. Kentucky was playing. I remember they were playing LSU. I still remember, I could tell you exactly where we were. And she said, hey, let's talk about this. And I said, well, all right, can we wait till after the game? And then she just said, I guess the game's more important. And I paused too long to think about it. And so I realized at that point, and then she said, there is something that I've been meaning to say, to bring to your attention. I said, what's that? She said, you're way too competitive. She said, when you watch TV, when you watch the games, you scream at the TV. You act like you're there. You think you're coaching. You yell at the referees. I said, I'm not yelling. I'm encouraging them to do better, And so, anyway, I could go into a lot more detail, but eventually I realized I need to make some changes. And so I started taping the games. And you're saying, oh yeah, you tape the games and you don't find out the score and you watch it later. And that's not how I do it. I tape the games. I find out what the score is. And if we win, I watch it. If we lose, I delete it. And she'll tell you, I watch games now. We watch games together. I go back and it's great watching it because I know we win. All right, we'll go back and watch. I love it. There's a game we played several years ago. Kentucky played Michigan and won at the last second. And I love that game. We were down 10 points at halftime, and the announcers were negative. Everything's, the world's coming to an end. Was I worried? Not nearly. I know we're going to win. I'm getting another peanut butter and jelly. I'm just getting ready for the second half. 8 minutes to go in the second half, and we're still down 6. Woo! Ooh, I'm not scared. 1 minute to go, we're down by 2 and they have the ball. I'm not nervous. Because I know at the 42nd point, we steal the ball, we come down, we pass it around, we're gonna get a shot off. I bet we do. And 3 seconds, Aaron Harrison, boom, 3-pointer, I still see it go in, and we win by 1 point every time. I can do the same thing, go back, and it changes everything. You know, it's a silly story, but think about life. Sometimes we get so nervous about things, it's just, we spend so much of our time wringing our hands and anxiety, and we're fearful about things and thinking about quitting certain things. And the whole time, when the Lord's saying, do not fear, my word, do not fear. Do not quit. Because I'm with you. I've got this. I've got much more for you to do. Just begging you today, when you talk about life on mission, and think about your life on mission and making the most of your life. You say, well, it's just about so uncomfortable talking to my family about it. I feel so awkward about. Look, God's placed that opportunity for you. Sometimes I'm not talking about being nice to people. I'm talking about connecting the help we often want to give people with the hope of Christ. Because we have the gospel. So who? You. How? The power of the Holy Spirit. What this simply means is, look, God wants your availability, but He's not depending upon your personality. He's not pretending on your preparation, nothing like that at all. That's why He says that, look, you are to be my witnesses, but I'm going to give you the Holy Spirit. He's going to give each one of us the supernatural, effectual power of the work of the Holy Spirit. It's really missions for the rest of us. It's not about you being persuasive or having gone through some type of program, although I hope you have learned how to share your faith. 3 Circles is the most highly used evangelism tool in the history of the North American Mission Board and the Southern Baptist Convention. It was designed by a youth minister of Highview Baptist Church, Jimmy Scroggins. And that's one of the very best ways, but there's a lot of different ways. We did faith several years ago. We taught everybody F-A-I-T-H and how to share their faith. And we said, look, you need to prepare to be a witness if you have the opportunity, and God will provide those, but understand it's not you. I mean, God goes before you, and the person of the Holy Spirit convicts people, and it's not all on you. We need you to be available. You are to be my witnesses. Be available, but He is the one who's going to provide the power. I love the faith system. We, as you know, some of you that were here, we went through hundreds upon hundreds of people were trained in faith. You said, what's faith? I'm glad you asked. It's F-A-I-T-H. Real simple. F was for forgiveness. A is for available. I for impossible. It's impossible for God to allow sin into heaven. T is for turn. Turn means repent. And H is for heaven. Okay. You really got to step it up, Blake, all right? But F-A-I-T-H. Let me give you an example. When we had all these people go through, we would go through about 30 minutes of a class, and we'd go out and share our faith. We'd actually leave and go and share with different people. And some people were real nervous about that because they'd always talked about Jesus with people that knew Jesus, but they were real nervous about talking to Jesus with people that didn't know. And like, man, I'm just awkward, don't know how to do this. We had one particular lady, she may or may not be here today, and she was real nervous about it. And she said, look, I want to take the class, I want to learn about faith, but I am not going to share it. I said, okay, not a problem. Just go through it. And so she did, and she held to that all the way about halfway through the class. She came up and said, you know, I'll try the F. That's all I'll do is F. Have the leader let me do F at one of the visits, and then he'll have to do the rest, but I'll just do F, forgiveness. I said, okay, whatever you want to do. So went on this visit. They're sitting there with a couple, real sweet couple, wanted to hear more about what the Bible said about forgiveness. And she said, well, we do it on our hand. It's called faith. And the F is for forgiveness. We cannot have eternal life without God's forgiveness. And something happened where she just got really comfortable and really confident, and she went right into A. And she said, an A is for available. It's available for all, but not automatic. And she began to share a verse with that. And she got so excited, the leader was ready to jump in, but she kept going. And she said, and T is for turn. And turn means repent. We have to repent of our sins. And she went through that. And she said, oh, just forget it. Would you like to ask Jesus in your heart? And you know what? On that particular night, that couple prayed to receive Christ. From that very abbreviated, you'd say. But here's what was really funny. We came back and we celebrate a different, everybody shared different experiences they had when they visited. So she came back and was sharing with the whole crowd, and she said, I'm so excited. They accepted Christ. And everybody was clapping, trying to affirm her because they know it was really nervous for her. She said, no, you don't understand. I didn't spell faith. I spelled fat, But my point is simply this. God wants your availability, not your persuasiveness or smooth tongue or feel like you got to have a degree or this or that. If God has blessed you in any way, figure out a way to share it. Not one particular way. Still remember going to visit, not far from here, there's a sweet girl named, the young couple that were going to visit, it was an awkward visit where they didn't invite us in. And so we began to share the faith outline and about Jesus at the door. And it was really inconvenient because there were some people moving in down the road there in another apartment. And so we were constantly moving in, moving out, and it was just like the absolute worst visit I thought I'd ever been a part of. And up and back and just interruption after interruption. And finally said, well, I appreciate you coming by, but this is not something we're really interested in now. And so, well, thank you so much. I was trying to encourage the two I had with me, saying, look, not every visit's going to go smooth. It's not always a good visit. You just call it what it is. That was a rough one, perhaps the worst one. All right. We almost back to our car, and someone said, hey, and we turned around, and it was a young lady named Starla, I come to find out. And she came up and she said, hey, were you talking to those people about God and church and Jesus and stuff? And we said, yeah, we were. And she said, would you mind telling me about God and church and Jesus and stuff? I said, man, we would, but we got to be back to church. Oh, no, that's not what we said. And so we began to share it with Starla, and she accepted Christ. Again, God specializes in taking ordinary people and using them in extraordinary ways. I'm simply telling those stories because it's not about you. It's about God using you and working through you. I travel a lot now, and typically mine show up somehow through Delta in some way. And the other day I was sitting by a guy from Phoenix. He said, and he asked me, he says, what do you do? And I try to explain what I do without saying, hey, I'm a pastor or a president of the North American Bishop Board. That doesn't mean anything to them. So I try to explain that we actually, how you start businesses all over across the world. We're planting churches, and he began to ask, well, why do you do that? And so I began to share a little bit. He goes, well, man, I'm kind of an inactive Buddhist. And I said, an inactive Buddhist? I don't think I've heard of that, And it's just interesting to me as we began to share, you don't even have to be looking for opportunities. God brings those to you. There's a guy named Bill. Bill went into a house back years ago, when you installed telephones into houses. Bill went into a house, again, installed a telephone. He'd not been to college. He was a phone installer and loved what he did, but he used every opportunity he had to tell somebody about Christ, and he did so in that particular house. He began to share with the man of the house and about Christ, and a wife came in and had heard something. She'd been raised as a believer, but the husband had not. Long story, he began to share Christ, and that young man gave his life to Christ because of the witness of Bill, a phone installer. And his life radically changed. His family's life radically changed. His kids' life radically changed. Everything they did on Friday night changed. Everything they did on Sunday mornings changed. All because of one guy named Bill who loved the Lord enough, was faithful enough to share his faith. And I know that because Bill shared with my dad. And if it hadn't been, I've never met Bill. I hope to one day in heaven, but I'm so thankful that a guy named Bill led a guy named Mike to Christ who impacted my life, who now with my 6 kids and 7 grandkids, and you see how it works. Man, God puts you in unique places, unique times for special purposes. I just want to encourage you, look, when we talk about being a missionary being, it's about you being on mission. He not only tells us, look, I want you to be my witnesses, and you're going to be empowered by the Holy Spirit, but you're going to be in Jerusalem and in all Judea, Samaria, and the ends of the earth. What does that mean? Jerusalem is where they were, so basically he's saying, I want you to do it in your own community. I want you to do it next door. Look, if you're not a missionary where you live, you're really wasting your time getting on a plane and going to some other country. It all starts with where you are. I mean, God, there's over 1.1 million people, I believe, in Louisville. There's an incredible amount of people who do not know Jesus and who want to and need you to share. So it's starting not only here, but it's also, and he says Judea and Samaria is talking about that entire region. That's why we plant churches. And you may ask, why do you plant churches? You saw the screen where how many we have in 2021. What you really want to see is how many we're going to have in 2030. Because the whole idea from the book of Acts is that you plant churches to plant churches to plant churches. Churches plant churches. And the reason the churches plant churches is so that people can come to know Christ. Sometimes we get it backwards. We say we want to plant a church so we can reach people and then we can disciple them and make disciples. That's not how you do it. What we train our guys is you really need to go with the purpose to reach a city with the gospel, to begin to share your faith and then disciple those that you reach. And then out of that, a church is planted. Sometimes we get it really backwards. And that's why every one of us are called to do this. Every one of us can. And then it says we're to go to the ends of the earth. I'm thankful to be in partnership. The North American Mission Board is in partnership with the International Mission Board. That this is missionaries all over the world. But 100% of the funding of that International Mission Board comes from North America. The reason I say that is the stronger the churches are here, the stronger the witnesses is. It's all about sending. That's the beautiful part of Acts 13. The church of Antioch got together. They prayed. They laid their hands on Paul and Barnabas. And you know what they did? It said they sent them out. They sent them out. It's not typically what's thought of when you come to the church. It's all about gathering as many as we can. And what's the largest attendance? It's about keeping as many here. But actually, when you read the book of Acts, it's about sending them out so that they can reach more. Some of you, years ago, 75-year history, some of you came over here, began some Bible studies, and now this is what happens when you plant yourselves in places where there is not a particular church. Point is simply this: there are billions of people that need to know Christ. Millions upon millions upon millions are lost. And God says, there are many people in this city that you know not of. Several years ago, back in 2018, in Thailand, perhaps you remember the story, it was June 23rd through July 10th, a soccer team, I brought a picture of the soccer team. Soccer team in Thailand began exploring in a cave, and those boys, they got lost. The rain came, they got trapped. And it was just a horrific thing to watch day by day to see what's happening. And they were trying different ways. There's a movie out now about it that I encourage you to watch. It's an amazing story. 2 divers died trying to figure out ways to even get to the boys. So just a horrific thing. I imagine as a parent watching it, knowing it, man, your kids are there. But what I really focused in on the story is the coach. The coach kept the boys settled, but he kept telling them, look, they're coming for us. All right? They're coming for us. One of the kids said, but we're lost. We're lost. They don't know where we are. Yes, but they're searching for us. They're going to come for us. And he constantly tried to instill hope in them that there's someone coming for them. And that's what today is about, to help you see, look, that's what God has put you there to do, to search and go and share what he's done for you. Say, man, that would be horrible. There's nothing worse than being lost like that. Oh, yes, there is. The worst thing is to be lost and no one searching for you. And that's the fear. God loved you so much that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. There was a old-time evangelist, Gypsy Smith, once was asked, how do you start revival? And he said, it's real simple. Is it simple? I said, it's real simple. He said, you go into a room all by yourself. You get a piece of chalk. You take the piece of chalk and you draw a circle on the floor. And then you get down on your knees in that circle and pray that God would start a revival in that circle. Acts 1:8 simply says, you shall be my witnesses. The Holy Spirit's going to come upon you. But I want you to do it where you live, in the outer regions, our nation, if you will, to the ends of the earth. Because people do not know Christ and desperately need to. I want us to bow our heads. I'm thankful for a guy named Bill that I don't know. But I'd ask you even today, is there one particular person that you're even praying for? That you know, maybe a family member coming upon Thanksgiving and Christmas and many opportunities to have those conversations. You have a neighbor. My neighbor's a guy named Michael. It's 2 weeks ago. Rang my doorbell and said, my life's got to change. And very rarely will they ring your doorbell and come and ask. Who is it you're praying for? Who's your one? God use you to reach. Father, thank you for how you love us. You care for us. You know everything about us, and you use us anyway. Father, help us to make the most of our life. And sometimes we just focus on getting bigger and better things and just focus on our family. But you've put us here for a much greater purpose. Lord, help us to see the importance of multiplying ourselves and glorifying you as we share what you've done for us. Thank you. Thank you, Father, that you've made us your ambassadors to share the reconciliation that's available through you. We want to glorify you with everything we do and say. And in Jesus' name, amen.